Well, after a short break there, a few weeks, we are back on the Presbyterian and Reformed Churchman with two return guests that don't need too much introduction, but we will do that. We're going to be talking today about brotherhood among officers, but specifically this ruling elder event at General Assembly, which we finally have information on. The last time I had these guys on, it was supposed to be all about this, and then the plans changed and we didn't talk about it at all. I have Ruling Elder Charley Nave from More in the PCA and Ruling Elder Rick Hutton, who is the, I call him executive director. You are the what of your church?
Church administrator at
church administrator of his church there. And both these men are rich men north of Richmond. No, they're not. I don't know. Every time I hear Richmond, that song's in my head. Sorry. Okay. Quick intros. So Rick, Charley, thanks for being here.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So just quickly, you can clean up my intro there. We'll start with Rick, since Charley, you've been on more. Rick, remind us where you are and what you do, just briefly.
Sure. So I'm Rick Hutton, ruling elder at All Saints Reformed Presbyterian Church in Richmond. My career was in IT, but came on as the full-time church administrator in 2016 at the church. Been a ruling elder there since '97, and I really refer to myself as a full-time ruling elder deacon, because I'm really just doing all those things that the ruling elders and deacons would do if they had enough time, to do it. And so they paid me to have enough time to do those things.
Yeah, I wonder, did you see the episode I did with Mel Duncan on church administration?
Yes, it was excellent.
Yeah, maybe the three of us should do a follow-up. I know Mel wants to do a follow-up because a lot of people church administration is difficult, and you very much are a ruling elder deacon.
Yeah.
So, and Rick, you are you're on the host committee, aren't you?
I'm on the host committee. I'm on the worship committee as well. We've divided the worship service between the four presbyteries that are doing the hosting, and so I'm kind of heading up the first worship service, and also helping to coordinate the other two worship services, but have more hands-on on the first worship service. It's the other thing, that my job, I'm very blessed. The church is encouraging me to be involved in presbytery, to be involved in General Assembly. They allow me to use my time that way, as well as on the local church. So it's a real blessing.
Well, that's a conversation in itself, because it is true. Like, the local church often doesn't understand or view that part of the ruling elders' calling, and we've seen how important that is. So great, Rick. Thank you. And now, Charley, tell us, give us the lowdown.
Well, I'm a ruling elder. Have been a ruling elder since 2017. I'm currently serving at Harvestwood Covenant PCA in Floyd, Virginia, and also on the temporary session of a plant church in Salem, Virginia, called Providence Presbyterian Church. And I'm also the founder and I guess executive director of More in the PCA.
Thank you. Yes. So More in the PCA, we've done a couple episodes on that already. You guys really help encourage and enable, I think I like to view it that way, encourage and enable ruling elders to go to General Assembly. And on the one hand, it's encouraging them because it's just not often immediately on people's radars. And for everything you've discussed on this podcast and other podcasts, it's you got to take time off to do that. Often a barrier is the financial side of things, and you seek to sort of streamline that for guys and remove the financial barrier if it exists. And so how many ruling elders have you sent? What are the quick stats? Have you helped scholarship to different General Assemblies?
It's about 120 now over the years, and we're going to be sending actually more like 150. We're going to be sending another 30 or so this year. And you're exactly right. There's a lot of hurdles, but we help with the financial hurdles.
Great. And so if people go to, and More is a very creative. More is a very creative name. It stands for More Ruling Elders in the PCA. So more in the PCA.org, and you can see there's articles there. There's an application thing there, and it says the application period for financial aid for attendance for this General Assembly has closed. So there you go. So January of next year. And so, well, thank you for doing that. And
for that.
I think what I would say too, and I said this on the last time, is if guys, if churches have in their budget, in their General Assembly's budget, extra budget for whatever reason, or you're not able to send your REs because, that happens. I know church sessions with only 3 and 4 REs, and you can't shame people into going to General Assembly. We all have, parents that are being cared for and kids that are being cared for and limited vacations. And there's just times when sessions can't send their 2 ruling elders. It just is what it is. And so, but maybe you have budget there that you can help fund other ruling elders to go. I know there's a fundraising aspect to what Charley and Moore does. But to fund stuff, y'all have been hosting the premier outside of assembly event. I don't want to suggest that the Moore event eclipses the reason we're there, which is to do the business of the Lord's church. But it is a fun event that you've hosted the last 2 years. One that, we teaching elders envy. And I still have my honorary ruling elder card from when I was an RE. And I think that's how I sneak in there. But when I had you guys on last time, we were supposed to talk about this event, and then it wasn't happening. So go ahead, fill us in, either one of you.
Well, we got thrown a curveball with a GRN evening event, which kind of conflicted with the plans that we had made, and so we had to rearrange what we were doing, and now our More in the PCA and Ruling Elder Network shindig is happening on June 12 at starting at 9:00 at the Commonwealth Club in Richmond, and that is really this has become a big aspect of what More in the PCA does is facilitate ruling elders getting a chance to meet each other and network and foster and build some brotherhood outside of their own congregation. Get to know ruling elders and teaching elders that love ruling elders in other churches.
That's great. And to piggyback off that, and I've heard you say this again in the past, but it is true. Teaching elders have lots of networks around the denomination because of seminary, because we move around. I mean, I was in Florida for a number of years before I was in North Carolina. So, all those guys in Presbytery, Florida, it's like we get to, the ones I'm friends with get to hang out and see each other. Ruling elders don't often have those relationships. Additionally, since most churches only can send 2, the same ruling elders aren't always going every year, so there's no sort of continuity. And so all the TEs are like setting up their dinners and their lunches and all this stuff. And what is there really for the ruling elders? Now, by the way, just sort of a encouragement to TEs, involve your ruling elders in everything you're doing that you're able to. I mean, I just automatically buy tickets for everything I'm going to for my ruling elders. And then if they, and other teaching elders that go from our church. And if they can't go, I give them away or sell them. I wonder if there's a scalping market for some of these events. There might be.
Haven't seen it yet.
Well, yeah, I got 2. So, but yeah, this really became an event that, what was it? Birmingham was the first one that y'all did?
For the first big one, before that, we basically got some appetizers at a bar in Atlanta, I think, and we had about 20 people show up, but it was not well advertised or planned very far in advance or anything. But yeah, Birmingham was the first big one, and that's when the Ruling Elder Network and Billy Ball kind of joined in with us, and made all this possible, and now it's kind of a regular thing at GA.
Yes, and teaching elders always try to crash the party.
We're happy to have them.
So, what happened this year? Because normally y'all are or not normally. I mean, you've done a couple of them where they were broadly publicized, and there was dinner involved, or at least more than light hors d'oeuvres involved. Definitely a huge meal last year. So, what happened? How did this get kind of moved?
Well, GRN usually has a very well-attended luncheon. And because of the facilities available in Richmond, they couldn't do a lunch. And so they moved their dinner to Wednesday evening, which was exactly the same time as our planned event. And of course, they're bringing in Rosaria Butterfield, and that should be a great.
Yeah. So let me just plug that a bit. I'm on the general counsel there. So if you go to gospelreformation.net and you go to events, you can access how to get tickets for this. And my understanding is they're still available. They sold out initially and then they expanded. So it says a few tickets left. And
we wanted our people to be able to go to both events.
Right. It doesn't. I don't know why on the GRM on this it doesn't highlight Rosaria Butterfield, but she is the keynote speaker. The GRN always makes presentations at this. Also, last year I think it was probably one of the biggest, again outside of assembly events, as a luncheon. Must have had 500, 600, 700 people. I don't know. And this will prove to be that also. And so the GRN shindig says 6 to 8 p.m. and there's only probably a few tickets left. And so you can get your tickets at Eventbrite, but you can go to gospelreformation.net. And so y'all had to shift.
That's right. And Rick has been super helpful in scouting out places for us. And he found the Commonwealth Club. And we were able to get a room there from 9 to 11 p.m. So it's going to be a late night kind of thing. And for $15, you can come join us. We'll have complimentary refreshments and an opportunity to network with other elders, primarily ruling elders, but also teaching elders. And maybe even run out to the patio and enjoy some cigar or pipe. But it should be a really nice time. This appears to be a beautiful place. I don't know if Rick, can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, it's a very historic men's club. It goes back into the 1800s. Originally a reading room where the men would go to read all the latest journals. You didn't have all the magazines sent to your home. The Commonwealth Club would have all the reading, and the men would go and sip their whiskey and smoke their cigars and read the news of the day.
And laugh heartily.
Yes, yes. And,
so are we going to play squash? There's squash courts.
Yeah, we won't be playing any squash that night.
Well, who says what?
Bring your racket.
Okay.
In case.
Yes. So at first I thought there was a huge gap, but if the GRN things ends at 8 and this begins at 9, that's not totally, it's not like people are going to fall asleep in their rooms between the two. Some might.
And you're going to go, the GRN event is at the convention center. And so you're going to go from the meeting directly to dinner. So you're still going to have all your stuff of the convention with you at the GRN dinner. So this gives you time to get back to the hotel, kind of unload, and then head on over.
Maybe take off the tie.
So, yeah.
So there's no dress code. We can take the tie off.
Well, there is a dress code.
You must wear a jacket.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. So very historic men's club, and so one of the few places probably left in the United States where they still have a dress code, but you do not have to wear a tie. Just bring your sports coat.
Will you have jackets for for people like
Well,
to?
Charlie can bring his extensive collection and loan them out.
Yeah, I'm sure the club does, but
I'm kidding.
be
I'm just.
reminded this is the PCA and there are rules.
Oh man, yeah. I went to a bar mitzvah once, and they passed out the yarmulkes, and so that's what will probably have to happen here. Actually, that could this is going to weed out the riffraff, but I'll bring a jacket. There was an article that said something about the sloppy, slovenly men in the assembly hall. So maybe this will encourage the us polo shirt guys to wear the proper attire.
Yeah, it's you always want to show your respect for your company. So that's what they do at the Commonwealth Club.
Yeah. Well, I think this is great because usually after the Moore event in the last two, well, I think the one in Birmingham went really late, but what time did the other ones cut off the last 2 years?
Man, I think
they went late, didn't they?
9:30 or so. I mean,
yeah.
I remember being really worn out.
Right. But guys were looking for stuff to do afterwards anyway, because again, it's just sort of a highlight and you're kind of over the hump in the assembly.
Mm-hmm.
Generally speaking, there could be one day, there's one full day left. And, so this is good. This is going to give everybody okay. How many are you saying how many tickets or seats there are for?
Yeah, we've got capacity for, I believe, 250, and we've sold about 90 already. So there are tickets remaining.
Okay. And let's go back there one more time. All right. So you go to Eventbrite. I'll try to remember to put the link in the show notes, but you can search. I think Rick said, what did you search on? Just Google and it pops right up.
So I put in more in the PCA event Richmond.
There you go. And Eventbrite will pop it up. Their tickets are $15 each. And so we're looking forward to it. Yeah. It's going to be Wednesday's going to be a great day. Actually, I know of a bunch of guys that are playing basketball at like 6 a.m. Wednesday morning. And so from 6 a.m. till all hours of the night, Wednesday is going to be busy because obviously a bulk of the business occurs Wednesday during the day. I know I don't remember which luncheon is Wednesday. It might be Greenville. And there's others. And then the GRN supper after business, and then the Moore event. And so this will be full force. That's great. And what's that, Rick?
It's just over a half-mile walk from the convention center. And for those who, maybe their hotel is further away, that plenty of parking at the Commonwealth Club. So if people are driving.
Oh, good.
Parking will be quite easy at the Commonwealth Club. Good.
Okay. So what I want to transition to, because we've done other episodes on Moore and this event and on ruling elders going to General Assembly, I really want to talk about, use the rest of our time just talking about like the brotherhood, the camaraderie of officers from the Church of Jesus Christ within the PCA across the country or denomination, like just sort of the importance of that. And a lot of ruling elders don't really experience that outside of their own session or church. And so what are some of the benefits or joys that you've seen in just knowing other ruling elders in other places, either in your state or across the denomination? We'll start with Rick.
Yeah, I think it to me, it's almost required to be Presbyterian because it's so easy to fall into kind of a congregationalist mindset. Our local ministry is extremely important. What we're doing in our local church is extremely important, and it can get us to the point where that's all we can see, and it's having those brothers outside your congregation that helps you to see, oh wait, Presbyterianism is bigger than my local congregation. That I have not just my brothers on my session, but I have my brothers on Presbytery, and I have my brothers at the General Assembly, and it helps. I think it helps us just to think outside our little box of our local church.
Right. So that would be an argument from it helps. It's part of the calling, and it helps with the calling.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about just friendships and like sort of the idea that we're working toward a common goal in our little corners, but coming together? Like, is there any of that involved? Maybe Charley could speak to that.
Absolutely. It's as Rick mentioned. This is the essence of being Presbyterian. We're not off in our own little worlds. We're facing problems. We're discipling people, and we're going through all the various aspects of conducting a ministry in our communities. All together, and of course, you grow together as you do things together, and more usefully, just about every situation or problem you face has been faced by some other congregation already, and some other ruling elder or teaching elder can tell you, okay, these are the mistakes that we made, or and if we had to do it again, we'd do it this way, and that is super helpful. So that you can build on the experience that other brothers have, and of course, working together. And probably the best way to do this is at Presbytery, because you're going to see these people more frequently. And I always encourage ruling elders to get on a Presbytery committee, so that you get to know other elders and do the work of the church. But this is a way that we all teach each other and accomplish the work of the church much more efficiently.
Yes. Yeah. I think we can get really insular, and like operate in our bubbles. And, if you're in the corporate world or whatever, you understand best practices translate. And that's why very often people in one industry or business or place will collaborate with someone else to see how they're doing it. And that's just really important and beneficial in the church. It's just what I found is there's really nothing unique happening in the church. I mean, there are manifestations that may be unique, but how you work through, think through, process through, pray through things, like you could feel like you're alone, like Elijah sort of there. And then you realize, no. All these churches are dealing with this. And then you realize other ruling elders are going through this and can really just benefit from that kind of camaraderie. I know a number of us get to be exposed to that through like the forums on Facebook, at least. I don't know if there's other ones. There's a few teaching elder, ruling elder forums where TEs and REs can come together. And I've always just been blessed by ruling elder perspectives on things. Of course, I was a ruling elder before. But O. Palmer Robertson says, like, the ruling elders are the ones that bring the common sense to the conversation. They're the ones with life experience often. They're the ones with sort of a practical way to view this stuff. And so definitely want to continue to encourage that, but also encourage REs to develop those friendships. And events like what you guys are planning is a little sort of way to do that.
Yeah. So I'm pushing 30 years on the session now, and I can't tell you how many times we've either contacted another church or pastor about, okay, how did you deal with this? Or how many times we've been contacted. We know you went through this. What did you do? Sometimes it's, well, we did the wrong thing. You need to do it differently. Or sometimes this is how it worked. And yeah, just what you were saying, George, I've seen it happen over and over the past 30 years.
Also the need to not just, for me, make it about business. And I think that's what things like the GA event will do, and I was even reminded with my own session, which we have, there's 10 ruling elders. There's 3 of us TEs. And man, we're just busy as a session. So everything becomes about session business. And even the meal that we eat together before a session meeting is sort of, there's some small talk around what's going on in families, but it always sort of immediately devolves into what we're going to be talking about in the meeting before the meeting, And last night I had the real honor and privilege of going with 5 ruling elders to a former congregant's house to talk through some things and shepherd them. And the meeting was just a blessing, and it was at 6:00, so nobody had eaten. And so we went and grabbed dinner afterwards, and it was like this rare moment where we're just hanging out together. Cause of course, again, we're together in life groups and small groups and there's that, but there's also the shepherding aspect, and we're together in meetings, and that's business. But like last night for me was just a rare moment to hang with godly guys, and just laugh and joke. And it was neat because most of the meeting, we didn't really talk about the business, but then it reminded us, like, it truly is a gift, the brotherhood, it doesn't always have to be about the business. And, we would teach that to our congregants, wouldn't we? Like you need, you need one another. You need to be in relationship with one another. You be active. Well, it's like the same for us. And it should not just be only about business of the church and prayer for the church, which are responsibilities and callings and privileges, but it should be about sharing with one another. So have you experienced that?
Oh yeah. I don't know. As you were talking, I was thinking about this particular event with Moore. It'll be worth the price of admission just to hear Zach Groff sing for us.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll tie his song at last year's Moore event into the end of this episode. That's what I'm going to do. That's right. You'll hear.
That would be a great ending.
So is he? He's not releasing a new one. He's just going to play the one he's just released. Is that, or you don't know?
I think it's a new one.
But first time ever?
Publicly, as far as I know.
Rick?
It's not the same one as last year.
Because I think he's released a few already this year.
Yeah, okay. He released on Presbycast, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, so will this be that one, or?
I don't know. It'll be fun either way.
Yes. See, that's how Zach, as a teaching elder, gets into the event. He's the talent.
He's the star. Yes.
Right. And I get in because I publicize you. So, no, there's plenty of tickets left. I do think it's going to be an event that people are going to wish they had bought tickets to. It will fill up. There's no question in my mind. We have 1, 2, 3, at least 4 ruling elders from our church going this year, because it's only 3 hours away. So, we are right under the threshold for another commissioner. So only 2 of them will be commissioners, but we'll have 4 at General Assembly because they love GA. And I love that about my session. So
yeah,
that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other things or thoughts you guys want to talk about? Otherwise we'll sign off. What do you got?
Well, just as you were talking about fellowshipping with other elders, I found that in our presbytery, it's usually a 2 or 3 hour drive to a presbytery meeting, and carpooling to those is a great fellowship opportunity with your other ruling elders from your congregation. I mean, you're not really getting out of your congregation very much, but that's a really great time for fellowship and to talk non-business as you were discussing.
That's a great suggestion, Charlie. I hadn't thought of that or heard that before. Yeah, Rick.
I was just the other thing besides all this about fellowship and so forth. I was thinking about this coming up. GA. I'm really looking forward to the overtures. It's felt like for the last several years, the overtures, and people could disagree with my take on it, but it's felt like the stuff related to side B, homosexuality and all that, we were really dealing with law, what is right and what is wrong. And the overtures this year are, in my way of thinking, are much more about wisdom. What's the wise way to do? So there's a lot of overtures, about changing the rules of discipline. And so, I'm looking forward to listening to the debates of my brothers on what is wise
Mm.
and what is the wise course of action, and seeing that sort of debate rather than just right and wrong kind of things where it feels more like if we get this wrong, we're really wrong. And really hearing from all of my brothers on why we think this is a wise course of action or that's a wise course of action. It feels like the overtures are more about wisdom this year, and
That's
I'm
a
looking
that's
forward
a
to that.
great point, and I think this is an area where debate is going to be very important. Dialogue, whatever, the floor speeches, because, and even the discussion in overtures, because I think you're right. I think like with the side B issue, especially after, we had the Nashville statement and then the AIC report and then rounds and rounds of overtures. There was a point where people knew what they believed about it. I don't know if floor debates swayed anybody. I just don't know because people came in informed. Hundreds and hundreds of articles had probably been written, and you believe this about side B or you believe that about side B. And some of it was a language thing and that, and your philosophy of ministry drove how you viewed the issue after 5 years, but here, a lot of this stuff is it's been percolating. We have the abuse report, DASA, but it's not exactly clear the implications of a number of these overtures on how to adjust because a lot of them is about church discipline, and procedurally how to work through that. It's stuff we haven't really thought through. Some of the stuff seems like common sense when you read it, but then when you hear the implications of it, you recognize, wait a minute, are we veering into ways of that deviate from our polity? Are we allowing too much of the social sciences dictate how the church operates and that, and it'll be interesting. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I think this is, and what's neat about this is, like you said, as opposed to like whatever somebody believed on side B and concupiscence, and I think we agree on concupiscence. I just don't, in the denomination, I just don't think we agree on what's permissible. But in this case, like the debate, which is what we always say, Presbyterians, we come to the assembly to debate. And I think for a lot of years, we come to the assembly to vote because we already know,
Yeah.
Well, here, these debates are going to be very important. Did any of that make any sense in my ramblings?
No, exactly. There was one last year towards the end, we were debating who could be a witness in a court trial, in a church trial. And I talked to a number of guys that had the same experience as me, where, I'd thought about it, I'd read about it before going in, but then someone would stand up to speak for, and I go, oh, that's a really good point, and then someone would stand up and speak against, and I go, oh, that's a really good point. And, so it was like where I was going to vote was changing almost with every single speaker. And I, talked to a number of guys who said, they had a very similar experience. And I hope that we'll see a lot of that at this General Assembly, where we have very reasoned arguments being presented why this is wise and why, or why it's not wise. And
Charley?
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to the debate. I don't think that we've got some huge controversy, but it's important to go every year because of the committees at the very least, and also to foster brotherhood and network with other elders and make sure that the PCA remains Presbyterian.
The PCA remains Presbyterian. Yeah. That's good.
Committee of Commissioners. Anybody on the Committee of Commissioners?
I am not this year, and you may recognize in the overtures there's an overture that affects our church, and we very possibly could be in a different presbytery, and so I thought it wise for me not to represent our presbytery this year, given that the General Assembly could be moving us into another presbytery by everybody's agreement. Actually, one of my ruling elders is on the MNA Committee of Commissioners because our overture is before that committee.
Okay.
And so it's I would have probably gone on that one, but it's time for a ruling elder. So the presbytery was gracious in that and voting our ruling elder to be on that. And so I'll be in that meeting for sure. Yeah. How about you guys?
I'm on interchurch relations this year. I've done that before and really look forward to it. I enjoy that broader ecumenical brotherhood as well as the PCA, brotherhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to be on Covenant Seminary's COC.
Oh, good. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. We need good information and good guidance coming both ways, from the seminary to us and from us to the seminary. So that's really good. And then IRC, yeah, I was on that 2 years ago when we pulled out of what was it, NA, the National
NEA.
Association. Yeah.
NAE.
NAE, yes.
So things have, I mean, like, people think a lot of times these committees don't, there's some ones everybody wants to be on, but like the important stuff happens in all of them, and we ought to care. And it's funny, the one ruling elder, he's a first-time ruling elder, nobody in the presbytery was on PCA Foundation, and he got to be on that. And then that was the year they were dealing with the Bitcoin thing. And he was just like, so it was so cool to him. And then they got called back during the assembly to go and finalize whatever the recommendation was or something. And it was just like, immediately, like, he felt the weight of the responsibility. And you would think, well, PCA Foundation, what decisions are going to be important there? And there's always something somewhere. So, and they manage a lot of money. I had no idea. I had Tim Townsend on a few episodes ago. You guys should listen to that if you hadn't heard it. It was phenomenal. Yeah, good conversation, guys. I appreciate you both. I look forward, and you're going to be busy, Rick. I mean, you're on the host committee, and
yeah, I'll be running around a good bit.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to it, and looking forward to it being over.
Yeah, I bet. What would be another or the last thing you'd want to encourage us with?
Well, if any of y'all are arriving to GA early and are looking for a simple means of grace church to worship in on Sunday evening, we'll have a full worship service with the Lord's Supper Sunday evening, June 9th, and would just love to have everybody, join us.
Now, what if 1,000 people show up, Rick? That would be awesome.
Well, we'll set up chairs in the fellowship hall and stream it into there.
That's all. Do a number of churches in your presbytery have Sunday evening worship?
No, I'm not sure that anyone else besides us has the Sunday evening worship.
Okay, so there you go, folks. If you come in town Sunday at some point, you can go to worship at Rick's church. Tell us what's the website so they can look it up that way.
allsaintspres.org. So allsaintspres.org.
Thanks, Rick.
Yep.
Any final words, Charlie?
No, I just look forward to seeing everybody in Richmond and hopefully on Wednesday night.
Are you going to award somebody with a bow tie at this event? I think you should. That rubber ducky bow tie you're wearing right now, that should be. There should be that should be given out.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look into that. I like to wear this to court. I could, I want the judge to know that my ducks are in a row.
Oh, is that why? I thought you just wanted him to smile. Like, well, thank you, men, for being on. I will just give a plug to the shirt I'm wearing. This is Birmingham Theological Seminary. And definitely go check out their booth at General Assembly, because BTS has not just great Doctor of Ministry programs for teaching elders, and not just great affordable programs for people to get ordained, for their Master of Divinity or Master of Arts, but they have great certificate programs for ruling elders, leadership, PCA. It's called Presbyterian Leadership Certificates, I think. And I had 2 of my ruling elders take a class with Fred Greco on PCA polity at BTS. I think it's probably the same class he offers at some of the other seminaries. And so who wouldn't want to learn from Mr. Moderator, Fred Greco?
Absolutely.
And he too has a ruling elder card still. But he's obviously a TE now. Anyway, so Birmingham Theological Seminary, check them out. This is George Sayor signing off for Presbyterian Reformed Churchmen. Thanks again, Rick, Charlie.
Thank you, George.
PCA. You may have seen this on YouTube. I left my name off of it so as not to get any 31-2 inquiries sent to my presbytery, but Ryan DC assured me he would not send a letter to my clerk or settlement committee. So I've been slowly talking. Man, there are so many phones out now. Well, my wife told me not to do this, but a couple weeks ago, I texted Brad Isbell and I said, call me when you get a chance. And he called me about 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. And he said, what's up? I said, I will make you this offer one time. And he said, of course, I love bad music. I said, all right, great. So, I don't practice this every day, mind you. So I invite you all to sing along and to help me. But I don't know how this sound system's gonna sound. I can't really hear much of anything. So we're just gonna go for it and hope for the best. If tomorrow all the blogs were gone, I wrote more in this life, but I could sing some songs and hymns with covenant children and my wife. I thank my blessed Lord to be ordained here today, cause the BCO's for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be Presbyterian, where we have some quality. And I won't forget the men who wrote the BCO for me. And I gladly stand up at night to defend her at GA. Cause there ain't no doubt I love this church. God bless the PCA. Woo! So many of you know this. From the Great Lakes up in Michigan to the Valley of Tennessee, across the hills and plains in Oklahoma, from sea to shining sea, from Philly down to Houston, Pacific Northwest to Gulfstream. There's decency in order here, so it's time to confess and say, all together now. I'm proud to be Presbyterian, where we have strong polity, and I won't forget the men who wrote the BCO for me, and I gladly stand up at the mic and defend her at GA, cause there ain't no doubt I love this church. God bless the BCA. Glad to be Presbyterian, where we have strong polity, and I won't forget the name.